Hello and welcome to this edition of TZM Global Radio. I'm your host for today, James Phillips from the UK chapter of the Zeitgeist Movement and TZM Education. Hope you're doing well out there, guys. It has been a long time since TZM Global's last broadcast, and that's because I have been very, very busy. But also it's because it's not just up to me, and that brings me nicely onto the introduction for today's show, which was Help by the Beatles. I need somebody, but not just anybody. I need some Zeitgeisters, ZGs, Zebros, or however else you refer to yourselves and others of your ilk, to help with the radio show, please. It is a group effort, so if you want to submit a radio show of your own for TZM Global, please do feel free. Interviews has been a big suggestion towards me that I should do more interviews, and my response is, yeah, that sounds great, do it yourself. Yeah, but seriously, do it yourself, because I'm very low on time, which is why I haven't been doing them, and they really do need to be done to stay in touch with our community, give us a presence online, keep the updates coming on YouTube, and keep the movement moving forward. So if you want to submit a radio show, you can do so by submitting towards this email address, which is submit@zeitgeistmovement.com. But the main topic of today's show is a meeting that was called for by Gil from the GCA, the Global Chapters Administration, who found a premises for us to hold a sort of European meeting at, basically. Lots of people at Z-Day in Berlin said that it was a good event, but they would have liked to have spent more time actually chatting with each other to discuss projects and meaningful solutions and ways forward and all of that good stuff. So Gil has very kindly gone to an awful lot of effort to put on an event for us. And I spoke to him via TeamSpeak, and so without further ado, I am going to cut that interview right now for you all, and I'll be joining you back after that has finished. Hey Gil, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you, James. It's been a while. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Looking forward to the upcoming event in Rotterdam, which is what I want to ask you a few questions about. So I suppose if we start off from what date and venue and how the meeting came about, where the idea came from, all of the above, really.
Well, sure. The event will occur in December from the Friday the 11th till Monday the 14th. Well, Monday the 14th, people will be leaving, so, but it will be an all weekender. So we chose Rotterdam mainly because, well, I'm from the Netherlands, so it would be easy for me to facilitate that, and also because we have a member which has a foundation here, which does social slash commercial work with much different companies, and he owns a couple of buildings through this foundation, and they're completely well, they're very, very big buildings, and we did a presentation there, like an introduction, TZM introduction for Dutch members. And we were there, and he showed us around the building, and he says, "Well, this is completely at our disposal, and also to the movement." And I was like, well, why not use it for an event like this? It's just insane. You'll see it when you come over, but there's like 50 rooms in there, and it's like an old monastery slash school, and yeah, very nice to use. Other than that, how did the idea come about? After last Z-Day, we had a strategic meeting with the part of the people that attended Z-Day. A lot of people were chapter members and coordinators, and well, during the meeting, it became apparent that there was desire for members to meet up in person much more often. And I promised to do something with that, with the aim to organize something this summer. But unfortunately, after work and all the day by day tasks in the movement and our personal lives also take up a lot of time. So I didn't accomplish that in the summer. And I felt like, well, I still should do it because that's what the chapter members asked. And um, I just asked the chapter member that owned the building for permission. He was very enthusiastic and he said, yes, let's do it. And then we just decided to do it and go forward with it without having an initial big game plan. But in the next few days after we decided, everything came together. So I guess that's the short version.
That sounds fantastic. So if it's like a monastery, I finally get to be a monk then.
Well, sort of. I mean, it was used as a monastery and then afterwards a school, but you'll get that feeling, yeah. And it's like I said, it's very big.
Man, it sounds awesome. I sort of had this picture in my head of it being a giant aircraft hangar and us all sort of laying down in sleeping bags, shivering on the floor.
Well, no. One condition that I said is that we at least have heated and nicely cleaned rooms. Like, of course, it's nowhere near hotel quality, but I mean, what would you expect? I the thing that we have done here is completely insane. We're inviting people over for the whole weekend, being able to stay, having food, drinks, everything for 25 euros. Now, we don't need to talk about money, but everybody living in a monetary system knows that that's like crazy, crazy cheap.
I had taken a couple of looks at that price tag myself and thought, hang on a second, accommodation and food and drinks? Uh, how?
It's a very good question. Well, obviously the venue is free because it's owned by, I wouldn't say the Zeitgeist movement, but indirectly it is because it's our chapter member, and that foundation is completely in line with well, the ideas behind the natural law, resource-based economy, and extended ideas of other organizations that are in line. So yeah, I mean that's the biggest cost you could have with running events like that, the venue. And of course, because we own the venue in such a way, we can also yeah, decide that we let people stay there, and that's yeah, very nice. They recently bought it, so recently is like not longer than a year ago. So there's a lot of work to be done to the building, and that's why we needed to get some halls ready. But they were like, well, we need to do that anyway, so why not do that and speed it up for this event? And they're working really hard every day. Food-wise, well, we have a lot of help, and of course, when you don't need to dedicate a lot of the budget to the venue, then you get more room to provide food. And we're gonna do some really good calculation, and we have a food expert that also works for the foundation, who worked with one of the biggest food distributors in Europe and has a really good context that's gonna help us with all the yeah the food services during the weekend. So yeah, I mean, the contacts are really important. You wouldn't be able to do this normally unless you had those contacts.
That sounds great. That sounds really great. What? So, in terms of sleeping, well, actually, I'll start off with another question. Tickets. So, how is it all sold out?
Yes. Well, I can say yes, but because there's 9 tickets, 10 tickets left, 10 tickets left, and they've been going very steady. So um, by the time people get to listen to this, that might be sold out. But I mean, you're welcome to try. I can't add any more because of discomfort in well, with the sanitation and the sleeping halls, etc. But this won't be the last one. And Z-Day 2016 is coming as well, but that's a different topic. But yeah, basically it's sold out, and if anybody really wants to come, there might be people that change their mind because it's still like a month away. So they're welcome to see if there might be tickets become available, but it's gonna sell out really, really soon.
Um, so hang on, you said 50 rooms. How many of them are toilets?
There are a lot of toilets in the building, but um, they said that's been taken care of, so.
I was just asking to sort of ask whether you want me to bring my portaloo from the boat I live on, but it sounds like you're okay. Right, swiftly moving on. What about sleeping? Do people need to bring their own like bedding and stuff, or and are there beds there, or is it just kip on the floor kind of job?
Yeah, that was one of the conditions we said in the event that people have to bring their own sleeping bag and inflatable bed. Because yeah, it's impossible for us to provide so many mattresses and beds, so especially on such short term. So yeah, that's one of the downsides. Of course, would have liked to have TZM hotel, but that's not possible, and definitely not for that price. So yeah, that's the only downside, but I'm feeling that's gonna work out anyway.
So, onto the program. What sort of can people attending expect from what's the sort of lineup of events, so to speak?
Well, we didn't want it to be like a Z-Day because people said that they love the Z-Days, but they also love the interaction with each other. So the main focus will be to combine the good things about Z-Day and the good things about interaction. So there will be lectures spread across the weekend, so no uh, l- large blocks of lectures. There will to give you an example, yesterday we worked out the program for Friday and Saturday, and um, if we take the main day, like the largest day, the Saturday, of course, um, you'd have to see it like this. After breakfast, when the event officially kicks off for the Saturday, then there will be like one lecture. And after that lecture, there will be a discussion, a set discussion. Then we already made topics for all of the discussions. And then afterwards, there will be a workshop given by you. So it's like we kind of mix up different elements, and in the afternoon part, there will again be a lecture and an interactive element, and then something else. And I'm even going to do a dance workshop in one of the parties. So
Fantastic. I'm a drummer, so I to only have rhythm from my knees to my feet and my elbows to my hands, so I could supply the beat.
right. Well, I mean, there's a lots of things that anybody can participate in, and the thing that we'll stress from the beginning when the event kicks off that nobody's expected to attend everything, although they could if they want. Um, and of course, the main objective is that people um, get acquainted with each other and get to hang out with fellow movement members. So I wouldn't say I would say that this event is much less tense than a Z-Day, where everything is really focused on the material. This is more social, but of course with the idea to get people more acquainted with what TZM is and what kind of people, and to get them more enthusiastic to be involved. Some people really have the idea that there are a lot of strange people in the Zeitgeist movement because of, well, things that have happened in the past, the idea that they just generally have of people that have different worldviews, and they're just curious to see what people are like in the movement. I've had a couple of conversations with people that were interested to attend, and they would just ask me, "How's the general crowd?" And I was like, There's no general crowd. There's so many people with different backgrounds, and I guess this is the ideal place for them to experience something like that."
Yeah, actually, that echoes my own experience when I came to my first Zeitgeist event in 2010. in London, and I expected to see a load of dreadlocked, sandaled, crusty hippies sitting there talking about world peace. But actually, the social demographic was massive. There was different races of people there, different ages, different backgrounds. That certainly was something that caught me off guard when I first came to it as well. Will there be any activism at the event, or like outside in Rotterdam? Are we gonna do any information stalls or anything?
Initially, I wanted to do that, but the program is that packed at the moment with things that are optional to do that it will be very difficult to organize at the moment. But we still have 30 days to go, so if anybody has a really good idea, it might happen. Only problem I would foresee with going out with stalls is that this is, Central Europe, and just going out with a stall on the street will end up in a fine or something like that. So we need to be creative, but there's definitely things that we could do, although I haven't had time to get that into the planning right now. But like I said, the program is already jam-packed. So if we do something like that, we'll probably scrap one of the current planned items.
Yeah, okay. Yes, it's nice to throw these things into the mix, and it would certainly be good for people to maybe take the skills honed over a couple of days of discussion and whatnot to maybe go and try them on some of the people of Rotterdam. But yeah, I I completely sympathise, having put on some of these sorts of events in the past. Um, the time is always of the essence. So uh, off topic for a minute, because I've been out of the loop for a little while now. How is everything else going inside the sort of the movement, so to speak, in terms of the GCA and stuff? How's the day-to-day running of the movement and upcoming events such as Z Day? Any news on Z Day, for example?
Well, this is a very broad question you asked me, so I'll try to dissect and just start with the last thing you asked me. Any news about Z-Day? Yes. Can I disclose? No. Not to be secretive, but we're working right now on finalizing the venue for Z-Day 2016. So um, I want to have that just secured before I announce where it is and when it would take place. Of course, it will be the second or third weekend of March, like every year. Just don't know when the venue will be available, and I'll check that out before. So there's going to be a fantastic main event, at least if we all make it a fantastic main event. And we're working towards that right now. I expect to be able to disclose information uh, before the end of November. And if I disclose then it will be all the information that's necessary to start preparing to go somewhere in Europe. It's not going to be overseas. This year is also going to be in Europe.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, that sounds great. Sounds good. So, have you got anything else you'd like to add, Gil, before we wrap up?
Well, you asked me a question about the movement in general and how it's going. Well, the movement is a very broad entity, so you have the chapter structure, the GCA, and all the active chapters within it, and then you have the extended movement, which really comprises of anybody that supports the train of thought. And it's really hard to measure uh, the real activity, and the thing that is easier to measure is the chapter activity. Chapter activity wise, I'd say we're doing quite stable. Of course, over the years, we've lost chapters here and there, but what remained and what after that was added is something I'm much more content with than the situation we were in before when there were masses of people, because there really was no focus, and now there's so much focus, and all the new chapters that come into existence are being properly guided and checked beforehand as to um, on the subject if they really understand the tenets of the movement and the thoughts behind the natural law resource-based economy. So it's maybe slower building, but it's yeah, definitely more beneficial to the movement in my perspective. I always say we have a lot of, and I mean a lot of passive supporters. I know they're there. They're emailing us quite often. They're also interacting on Facebook. They're interacting on other social media. There's a ton of people out there just waiting to get active for the movement. But you know, it takes a lot of, I don't know, I wouldn't say courage, but it takes a certain drive to start doing things for the movement. And well, not everybody can have that drive all the time. And also to get that initial drive going, there needs to be a spark. And when I say a spark, for example, the movies were a big spark. You know, when the movies released, we spiked. And if we want to move forward, that's what we need to do. We need something that sparks us and gives us another spike again, and then we need to keep the momentum going as we are focused now, and we know what we need to do.
Yeah, I think it's been the structure issue's been brought up many times over recent years, and I think that you've kind of echoed something that I've often thought is that we've got to make sure our own house is in order, and that we have a structure and we have a group of dedicated people who are capable of piecing things together, so that when new people come in, it doesn't seem it doesn't seem haphazard. It seems like they know where they slot in and they can get involved with that enthusiasm. Otherwise, you sort of you lose that spike, you lose that momentum.
Yeah, there are two sides to that, though. Like, yes, I completely agree. The house needs to be in order. Everything on our end, on the organizational end, needs to be fine. But when people come in and they start being active for a chapter, there needs to be something really good for them to do. Like it's the I I've been active with the chapter structure since it came into existence, and I've seen this firsthand. That I mean, I've seen hundreds, I mean, no, thousands of chapters come, and I've seen some of them go, and I know why. Because you know, uh, people are really well intentioned and they want to do something to move this process forward, and then they start running a chapter, and that's the moment that they realized, okay, what now? What should I do? And some of the chapters, we have, for example, some chapters in the United States and a couple of chapters around Europe. Some are very independent and they come up with their own ideas for activism, but it's a small portion. So I feel that we need to provide a good basic set of things that chapters could be doing, and that shouldn't be loosely defined as you can do events or you can do information booths. No, they need to be really detailed and effective projects, and that's the way we're gonna get to where we want to be at.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think people also coming to this have to have. Well, it'd be nice if they had some of their own ideas and their own initiatives to bring to the table, because the Zeitgeist movement isn't me, you, Peter, or anyone else, standing at the helm, pointing here, pointing there. People have got to come in and get stuck in, basically. I think that's a pretty good place to wrap things up. So, thanks very much for coming on, Gil, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Rotterdam. Yeah, any final words? Please say them now.
Well, I'm not really good at dramatic endings that inspire people, but I'll try. Like, well, if you're listening and if you have wanted to come to Rotterdam and you're not able to, well, that's a shame, but we're just limited on space there, and it's the first time, so we're just doing this as a tryout, and we'll probably do uh, more of them in the future in different locations if it's a success. But if you're out there and listening and you're not currently active for the Zeitgeist movement, don't feel guilty, but just ask yourself where you could possibly contribute because, I mean, we got to do it together. Um, and if you're, and if you ever feel like you are already doing a lot and you feel overburdened, take a step back, take a few months off, take a year off. It doesn't matter because in your heart, in your mind, you will always know what you support, and if you started to support these ideas, then it's very unlikely that you will suddenly stop supporting them. So don't feel you need to be on the forefront all the time. And other people, yes, we need you on the forefront so other people can take a break. All right, guys, that was it for me.
Pretty bloody good ending from as far as I'm concerned, Gil. Thanks very much. See you, buddy. Okay, so there you have it, folks. Those are all the details you need for the upcoming event in Rotterdam. And hopefully someone will be back on the airwaves soon to give you an update about Z-Day 2016 and maybe bring you one of those interviews that I was mentioning earlier. Once again, guys, it would be really good if you can jump in and get involved and record your own radio shows for the movement. In order to do so, please remember the email address to send your submissions to or ask questions, etc. would be submit@thezeitgeistmovement.com. So if you're listening to this and you're going to Rotterdam, then the outro music is especially dedicated to you, and I will see you there, and hopefully speak to you all again through the medium of TZM Global soon. Okay guys, take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon.